Hello and welcome to a conversation on Daily Bern. I'm your host, Eric Miller, joined today by an absolutely fantastic progressive candidate running for a newly drawn district in Texas, U.S. House seat in Texas, District 7, which I will ask you about. Pervez Agwan. Welcome, Pervez.
Hey, Eric, thanks for having us.
Thanks for taking some time to chat with me. The first question I want to ask you is you don't take any super PAC money, no corporate PAC. How could you possibly determine what your agenda would be if you're not paid to decide that?
Well, I think politics will never change unless we start boldly running grassroots campaigns that are only powered by the people. I guess, the North Star ideally in this country would be a publicly funded election someday. We have to get money out of politics entirely. And our campaign has done well. We have almost 3,000 donors. We have the majority of our donations are under $50. So this is the power of the people.
Amazing. And your website, I'll mention it a couple of times, agwanforus.com. And it is a people power campaign, like you just said. This is the primary. The primary is on March 5th. We'll talk a little bit about the incumbent, sort of a kind of a normie corporate Democrat. We'll talk about her. But I want to ask a little bit about the district. So this is a newly drawn district. Tell me a little bit about it. I'll pull up just a graphic from your website here.
Absolutely. So thank you, Eric. The new district, because of congressional redistricting, is now the most ethnically and racially diverse in Texas. It was just drawn last year. It has now the largest Asian American and Arab American population in the state of Texas. It's a safe Democratic seat. It's nearly 80% Black and brown communities. It's 70% Democrat. It's statistically impossible for a Republican to win it. So a lot of people ask me, Pervez, what are your chances? You're in Texas and you're progressive. When I tell them, no. This district voted in larger numbers for Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren in the 2020 primary than it did for Warren. This district didn't exist. But the district is now not just the most diverse, but it's one of the most progressive in Houston. It's almost a D+30. Don't let anybody ever tell you that universal health care or getting money out of politics or gun control or taxing the billionaires or getting money, or fighting for climate action isn't popular. It's deeply popular, and it is here in Houston as well.
Right. And demographically, I've heard you talk this, the demographic is largely, it's Hispanic, Asian. Can you talk about the demographics of your district?
Absolutely. So things have really changed. I grew up in Fort Bend County in Sugar Land on the west side of this district. 20 years ago, right, we had everybody that was representing us was Republican. Everybody, no one would have ever thought that Democrats started winning countywide. Now, Fort Bend County on the west side of this district is now the most diverse county in America. Houston was recently listed as the most diverse city in America. We have the largest number of Asian and Arab-owned businesses. My family, we originate from South Asia. Fort Bend County, where I grew up, now has an Indian county commissioner and judge. It has a Pakistani and Muslim American state representative. It has a Pakistani Muslim constable. It has multiple Indian, Hindu, and people of other faith judges. And now I'm running to be the first Asian American ever elected to Congress from Texas. And this west side of the district, by our count, has almost 200,000 people of Asian American and Arab American origin. And it's a low voter turnout primary. So this is the densest corridor of Asian Americans, whether they're Indian, Pakistani, South Asian, East Asian, in the entire state, packed into one congressional district. It also has the densest corridor of Arab Americans packed into one district of any area in the state. And quite frankly, there are very few districts that are more diverse than this now because of the fact that Fort Bend County over the past 20 years has shifted due to the nature of immigration, low cost of housing, but more than anything, is just a county of opportunity. Only in Houston, can the son of a blue collar worker, my dad came to this country with nothing in his pocket, not just run as Pervez Mohammed Siddiq Agwan for Congress, but really be considered the front runner in many ways.
Amazing. And the incumbent, I'm just going to forgive me for this. The incumbent lives where exactly in the district?
So this is what gets funny. The district has radically been redrawn. And the old district was completely north of that map you showed. It was predominantly upper income. It was predominantly Republican and Democrat split. It just changed hands. The old district was predominantly Caucasian. And it was very, very middle of the road. Someone like me would not have had a chance to win that old district.
Right.
But the way that redistricting happened, the new district is drawn in such a way that the neighborhood of the incumbent was drawn out of the district. So Taylor Cruz lives in this neighborhood called River Oaks. That's also where the incumbent lives. So now you have someone that's funded by big oil, Wall Street banks, the APAC lobby, trying to represent an entirely new demographic of almost, the district geographically, the footprint, changed. Almost 80% of the district geographically is new. Trying to represent an entirely new community that's progressive, but her neighborhood's no longer in the district.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's got to be a huge advantage for you, like you said. Let's talk about a few policy points. Medicare for all, you're pretty strong on Medicare for all. Talk about, what you would do to achieve that. I understand your district has one of the highest uninsured rates.
That's absolutely right. So, Eric, the tragedy of being in Texas is we refuse the state, controlled by the Republicans. Not to say the Democrats are any better. Republicans refuse to expand Medicaid and Medicare access here. We have some of the highest uninsured rates in the country. I grew up in one of the lower income neighborhoods in the city. Gulfton was my first home in Houston. It's also one of the highest uninsured zip codes in the entire city and state. My father, many years ago, when he lost his job, he also lost his health insurance. And it was very difficult for him to afford the cost, to afford his health care at the end of his life. And that experience kind of woke my family up to the reality that there's very little safety net in this country. We have a very broken for-profit healthcare system. So when people ask me what we're going to do, I guess the question becomes my personal experience. And the reason I'm running is because my father suffered so much at the end of his life with the cost of his healthcare. And it unfortunately and tragically led, to his early death. The question is, what won't I do? Because I think it's unacceptable that in the richest country on earth, people still go bankrupt when they get sick. It's unacceptable in the richest country on earth. Insulin still costs so much when it's $6 a vial, north and south of us. We're one of the only OECD countries without universal health care. Almost every other OECD country or every other developed economy has it. We pay more per capita than any other country. That's in the G20 or the OECD, but we have some of the worst life expectancies. Insurance companies are making billions of dollars, while Americans, we can't even afford a routine checkup anymore. The average American can't even go and get a blood test if they don't have insurance or a good insurance plan. Whereas the CEO of United Health Group and Aetna, they pulled in, millions of dollars in options and paychecks and bonuses. The entire board. This is wrong. This is morally bankrupt. And I think this country really needs to start being honest that we have to work against the health insurance lobby in Congress. So day one, not only do we join the Universal Health Care Medicare for All coalition, I think what we will do is start loudly pushing that conversation again, which has died out. It's died out not because of the lack of courage, but I think it's because there's a lot of people silencing even the progressives in Congress. So I think, Bobby Kennedy, he famously said that, sometimes it takes one voice, one ripple to build a mighty wall that can take down any wall of oppression, right? One wave can take down the mightiest walls of oppression. So I hope that we can keep building ripples in a pond, and those ripples grow to a mighty wave. So let's start getting that conversation going again.
Hey, here, let me ask a little bit about, I guess the trajectory of progressives in the House, if you will. This is, should you get elected, should you join that, collection of progressive Justice Democrats, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and so forth, right? What constructive criticism would you have for them from the outside looking in as sort of a new member joining their ranks, right? What could they have done better that constructively maybe we can course correct? We can critique them all day long, but what constructively would you advise them once you showed up?
We need to play hardball. Look at the way the right wing, the extreme right, has taken over, whether it's Gates or Marjorie, Taylor Greene. They've been hosting their party's leadership hostage, and I think it's time we do the same. We can't back down. We have to be aggressive. And quite frankly, no disrespect to the wonderful Congress people that are progressives, but you can't work with people who are hosting the American people hostage, right? You don't negotiate with them. We force them on our side because our side is the side of moral clarity. So if that means holding out, if that means causing a fuss, if that means being hated, by all means. Mahatma Gandhi, he famously said it's okay to be an army of one as long as you're speaking the truth. We have to be people of truth at all times. So when we get in, Eric, we cannot be playing by their rules. Yeah. I forget decorum. We can't have decorum anymore. Decorum should have been lost 10 years ago when Sandy Hook happened, right? And we still haven't banned assault rifles. Decorum should have been lost many years ago when the next mass shooting happened, and then the next one, and the next one. What we've learned now is that playing nice and by the rules and by what's actually moving Congress along will never get this country in the right direction. We need disruption, not decorum.
Yeah. Do you feel like we're moving towards a tipping point of that?
I think we passed it. I think, Eric, we passed it entirely. And I think the success of the extreme right in being able to shift their party is an indictment on the moral character of the Democratic Party. And I believe that it's not that we don't have strong enough voices that are progressive. I believe there are stronger lobbies and stronger voices that are within the Democratic Party that try to silence our progressives.
Right.
And I think we need to start fighting back against that.
Yeah, paid to lose, right? Yeah, let's talk about
Eric. On that note, I'm not sure if you're following, but Hakeem Jeffries is literally threatening some people. Stay in line, or we're going to unleash the lobbies on you. AIPAC in particular.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reporting on that recently. I think it's unbelievable that the Democratic Party leadership holds its own party members hostage.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next with, obviously that photo that came out yesterday, the ceasefire. Now, I assume you would be in that group.
I would be
and proudly, right? Yeah. And have you had any interactions with AIPAC, the incumbent? I believe that's one of her, donors.
Absolutely. No, we have not had any interactions with them. And quite frankly, their existence is a threat to our democracy. We can't have outside lobbies that are funded by Republican, mega donors continue to attack Democrats. We can't solve and fix the Republican Party. That's my firm belief. Yeah. But we can at least try to get inside and solve and fix the Democratic Party. But now what we're seeing is Democratic Party leadership refuses to tackle things that may cause them to lose. We should rather be people who stand strong against dirty lobbies and be willing to lose than live and win on a lie. And I find that to be unacceptable from Democratic Party leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. And, rank and file members as well. You just have to go to somebody's open secrets and see where they're getting their money from. And there's their, what they're voting against and what they're slow walking. Right. Let's talk about the incumbent through that lens, Lizzie Fletcher. She's gets money from oil and gas, health insurance. Can you talk about her paid ineffectiveness, if you will?
Well, think about it this way. She just got into office on the back of a couple $1 million. The entire labor movement here worked against her. She used to be a corporate litigator that literally, her law firm rigged a jury trial against service workers with Trump supporters just to get them a positive verdict. I'm not a corporate litigator. I'm not a union buster. I come from a blue collar family. I think it's unacceptable that big money props these kinds of people into office. Her donations are coming in from Wall Street banks. I don't see a Wall Street bank in my district in Fort Bend County. Her donations are coming in from the big railroad companies, from big health insurance companies. I don't see United or Aetna down in Gulfton or Sharpstown, the most uninsured zip codes in the district. Her donations are coming in from AIPAC. Who do you represent? Are you representing foreign interests or the residents of Sharpstown, Gulfton, and Alief? So I think, quite frankly, her voting record and her donation history show that she's just, unfortunately, a puppet that's put in place by money, and we have to start getting rid of those kinds of politicians.
Yeah. And how is that received? I would assume that, rings true, resonates with the voters when you get to face and canvassing.
Well, most Americans, we want change, right? This district went heavily for Bernie and Warren. There's nooks here that do support progressive politics. In the district, healthcare is one of the top issues. Gun control and gun safety, jobs, economy and inflation, climate change. These are really important issues in the district. And politicians are not delivering on these issues. And it's because they're only delivering for their donors. And I think voters recognize that. But there's a lot of money that goes into misinforming and disinforming voters. So, for example, our campaigns raised a good amount of money. We've knocked thousands of doors. We are meeting thousands of voters, and they are very receptive. Now, the problem is a super PAC like the DMFI or AIPAC or, some astutely named, dark money super PAC that says they're for clean air, but is maybe funded by ExxonMobil, can come in and spread disinformation. And the average voter, they just launched, DMFI just launched some attack ads against the squad. And it's pretty dirty. And how do you combat that? It's by standing up, saying enough is enough, and collectively as people in this country mobilizing to fight back. So it won't happen alone. It does require a large mass of people. And all we're doing is spreading the truth, right? I think we go door to door, we spread the truth, and we educate voters on Citizens United and dark money. And quite frankly, these are necessary things to do. So our campaign is doing them door to door.
And you're braced for that onslaught because you're certainly a challenge to that, no doubt. Let me ask you, how is that? One of the things with this ceasefire, you see the polling from, rank and file Democrat voters, even Republicans in the majority wanted to call for the ceasefire, right? Whereas, Democratic leaders and so forth, where we stand, right? One of the narratives around that is that's going to suppress voter turnout in 2024 for Joe Biden, right? Is that something you're up against, right? So in other words, you're having to overcome their disillusionment over, given the demographic makeup of your district, right? There's a disillusionment there more probably in your district than others that you might have to fight to overcome. Can you speak on that a little bit, or am I imagining that?
Well, you have a good chain of thought, I think, Eric. The thing is, almost 60 to 80%, depending on what data you're looking at, Democrats support a ceasefire. 98% of the Congress voted against it.
Right.
I think the problem is most of our politicians are too scared to lose power and lose their seat than to be honest. It's all about honesty, and I don't see it. And as a young person that was born here, as a proud American, I still believe in the promise of this country. Only in this country can the son of a blue-collar worker even run for Congress and make it to the highest levels of government. We've seen time and time again the American promise does hold true. But I think that dream is vanishing very quickly, and we're seeing it play out in that the people want certain things, including a ceasefire, universal health care, paid family leave. These poll almost 70% plus nationwide across a vast majority of voters, but the Congress can't deliver. And once again, we're seeing that the military-industrial complex, foreign lobbies are holding our government hostage. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, can you blame voters for being disillusioned? Nothing works. The Congress is stale. Nothing gets passed. The government might be shut down again, and we just got a new speaker. Nothing works anymore. And it's not because it's our fault as people. It's because our politicians are crooked. It's because our politicians are bought and paid for before they get to DC. So when they get to DC, they're not doing our bidding. They're not working for us. They're working for the highest bidder. And quite frankly, the voters in our district, we're meeting them door by door. People don't vote in a primary unless you ask them to vote and compel them and give them a reason to vote. So our campaign is giving people reasons to vote, because I know it seems dark. I know people are unhappy with Biden. Don't even get me started with Trump. But quite frankly, this country won't change unless we start actually voting, not just in generals, but primaries. And this is a state with very low primary voter turnout, and our job is to ratchet that up.
Here. How is Green New Deal resonating in your district? Green policies.
Well, this was the hottest July in Houston history. It was the hottest summer on Earth's record. It was almost 112 degrees for a few days straight in the thick of the summer in Houston. We're feeling climate change down here. We really are. It's one of the top polling issues. We tell people, unfortunately, what's happened is things like Medicare for All, Green New Deal have been so weaponized against the left that we have to start re-educating people on what it is. So we are talking about a Green New Hue, a Houston where any kid can walk out from his house to a park. Green energy jobs based right here in Houston. Houston is known as an oil and gas city. My dad used to work in oil. Actually, when I graduated from college, my first job was in the oil industry. It was the only industry that would hire someone like me. But the Stone Age didn't end for a lack of stones. The oil age won't end for lack of oil. We're going to leave it in the ground because we realize if humanity is to progress, we can no longer continue burning fossil fuels. And Houston recognizes that. So it's been resonating. We can't keep doing big oil's bidding. There's nothing wrong with building, an energy, a green energy capital of the future in Houston. It was the oil capital. Maybe it can be the green energy capital too. And that's what our campaign's trying to do. So, when you say things like Green New Deal, we're proudly standing by the idea of that Green New Deal because it's only bold visionary policy, like is written in that resolution, that can drive this country towards the right direction.
Right on. How about is agriculture a part of your district, like heater heat worker protections for farmers and so forth?
Not too much.
Now?
We're mostly suburban and urban.
Okay. How about labor rights then? Obviously, that's a huge. There's a momentum shift happening there. I think
Absolutely.
that's something you've worked on previously. Talk about your position there, what you'd like to achieve.
Well, first, we got to start with a minimum $15 wage. We have to at least start there. The minimum wage needs to increase. Worker productivity in this country is skyrocketed, but their wages have not. You see what's happening with the auto workers. These companies are making billions of dollars in profit, but the workers are not seeing a single share of it. We need to have mandated and compulsory profit sharing. It doesn't matter if you're a service worker, a janitor, a low-level line worker, or the CEO. Everybody in the company needs to benefit if the company is doing well. So we support the right of everybody in this city, this state, this district, this country to unionize without retaliation. And we want to build thousands and bring thousands of green jobs that are union, to this city. Quite frankly, my opponent doesn't want to do that because she's funded by corporations who want nothing more than to keep squeezing blue-collar, average, everyday Americans until, quite frankly, there's nothing left. And we're seeing the effects of that right now in this country. Wealth inequality has never been higher. What is it? Almost the top 1% owns as much more wealth than the bottom 50%. We have 20 families with as much wealth as 200 million Americans. You have Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk building rocket ships to space, while there's people sleeping on the street in my district. That's unfortunate. We cannot have that anymore in this country. The richest country on earth, no one should be sleeping on the street while you have Bezos and his $2 billion yacht.
Yep. It is terrible. Yep. So let me just repeat again. The primary is on March 5th, agwanforus.com. Please make a donation, support. Let me ask, how can people help aside from that?
Well, in order for us to win, the demographics are lined up. The people in the district are progressive, and the district has radically been redrawn. Most of the electorate is new. Not only do we have a winning chance, I think progressive policies have to win, and a progressive campaign has to win in this new district if we execute right. So how people can help, number one, please sign up to volunteer on our website. Help us make some remote phone calls. We need to make thousands of phone calls a week. We couldn't do it alone. There are so many positive Bernie Sanders voters inside this district. Multiple neighborhoods in this district went 60 to 70% for Bernie Sanders. Some of them went almost 80% for Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. There are progressives in Texas. We're here. We're seeing some in Austin, and now we're going to see some in Inner Houston, because this is also one of the densest and most urban neighborhoods in Houston on the east side of the district. Number two, please generously donate. We are a grassroots campaign. It costs a lot of money. But number three, more than anything, please follow us on social media. Please share with your friends. If grassroots campaigns are going to win, it does take all of us, right? It's not about me. I'm grateful that the community allows me to do this work, but it's about us, and I couldn't do it without your support.
Here. Yeah, and share this video, get the word out. My intention is to platform you, right? So, the more people that learn, the better, right? And I'd love to have you back on as the election day nears as well.
Thank you.
To do a little bit more. Again, it's March 5th is a primary, agwanforus.com. I just want to close with, I heard you you did the conversation with Cenk on TYT, and you mentioned Gandhi was your hero. What have you learned most critically from him? What's your sort of North Star from his teachings that you carry with you most sort of at your core?
I think I have most of his newspaper clippings written out because my family is Gujarati. So my great-grandparents, they grew up in that era in Gujarat. And I still have a lot of family on Gujarat where Gandhi's from. He's from Kathiawar in Gujarat. He wrote about this almost 100 years ago now. But I find it absolutely unacceptable that in the year 2023, humanity, we've progressed so far, but we still can't find a way to resolve our differences nonviolently. Yeah. And that seems to be something. If there's something, the MLK talked about it all the time. I'm a firm believer in nonviolent protest. I'm a firm believer in the satyagraha and the ahimsa. And for me, a moral North Star is finding ways as humanity to exert ourselves in the pursuit of a better future. And doing that through discourse, through understanding, through dialogue, through engaging in politics, and minimizing violence against one another. Because I think one thing we need in society is more love, and I just don't see enough of it.
Here. Well said. Well, I can't wait to see the good trouble you're going to cause on the House floor. So again, it's agwanforus.com. I understand you have a fundraiser to go to, so I will let you go, and I will thank you for your time. Keep up the great work. You know, you got a lot of supporters here in this community, so you know, we're rooting for you, and I'd love to talk to you again before March 5th. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Eric. Thank you, everybody.